you. From the film, we have composer Kris Bowers. We have producer Scott Sanders. We have this lady named Oprah Winfrey. We have actress Taraji P. Danielle Brooks. And finally, Fantasia Barrino. Don't go low. Okay. Now, guys, the baby has been birthed, and she's beautiful. She's gorgeous. Let's talk about how pretty this baby is. You had 2 Golden Globe nominations. It's only been out 3 weeks. It was a huge Christmas day. I think it was record-breaking Christmas opening. It's only barely 3 weeks. Yeah. And in that time, yesterday, this cast, the entire cast, was lauded by the Screen Actors Guild with an ensemble. And Danielle Brooks was nominated for her best supporting. They have 5 Critics' Choice Awards, including Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress for Danielle, Best Ensemble, Best Makeup and Hair, Best Costume. I think it's a beautiful baby. Beautiful baby. So my question is, first of all, I bet you guys are wondering, why are you in the movie? I am in the movie. I'm not in the movie yet. My heart is with this movie. It transcends everything. I mean, just beautiful performances. I wish I could sing. I wish I could have been there, but my heart is with you guys because you moved mountains and you moved souls. And I just wanted to be here in a small way to celebrate each and every one of you because this is a feat and it's beautiful. So thank you all again for being here. I just, now that the baby's born, now that you know the baby is healthy and beautiful, we get nervous. But now that it's out there for the world to see and admire and love, I guess my first question is going to be for all of you, but I'm going to give it to you, Miss O. What, Miss Oprah, Miss O. We're both O's.
Nice. It's really kind of nice because when I'm reading something and those of us who are O's can always spot the O's. Many times I'm looking at a thing and it's you O, not me O. Octavia O, not Oprah. Yeah.
I love it because you don't get a lot of O's, so I love it. And I get to call Miss Oprah Miss O because there aren't too many of us, but this is about me, guys. Oprah, what has been the most rewarding aspect of watching this project come to life from production until now, what has been the most gratifying for you?
To see how God moves in our lives in his own time, with his own vision and strategy, as Danielle often says. When I did The Color Purple in 1985, I had the scene in town where she slaps the mayor, Sofia, and I asked for permission from Steven Spielberg at the time. Could I please leave the set and go sign the contract for the Oprah Winfrey show? And he said, what kind of show is that? What is it? Is it a radio show? What is it? I said, well, no, it's a TV show. And people say I'm gonna be really famous. And I think you should put my name on the poster. I said, well, you can go sign your contract, but your name will not be on the poster. So for my name to not be on the poster in 1985, to now be allowed to produce the film with Steven Spielberg and Quincy Jones and Scott Sanders is just a full circle moment. It's just like, God, we need to bring
That was gratifying on so many levels, because this movie means so much to so many people, but especially the Black community. And it has been so beautiful to witness how we all jump for joy. I think the first announcement was back in March and we were all jumping for joy. And it's been lauded. The Black audiences, have really held you guys in love, both at the box office and word of mouth. So, Oprah, I guess this next question is also for you. What was important to you? Why was it important for you to bring this film to the Black community?
Well, it was important in this moment because Scott Sanders had come to me in 2018 and said, I think it's time that we go to Steven and get permission, because he had the rights to all the film rights. And I think it's time, and you should call him. That's what Scott said. Call Steven Spielberg. And we both felt that it was time. We felt that in the heat of the Me Too movement, that Celie's story was the ultimate Me Too story. Because when we did it back in 1985, nobody was talking about what it meant to be sexually assaulted, what it meant to have it in your own family, in your own community. And I remember talking about it for many years on the Oprah Winfrey show, and it was taboo for, a decade. And so the fact that women were coming out and saying out loud, using the voices, Me Too, we thought there is no stronger, more empowering story than Celie discovering her own Me Too.
That's beautiful. And I think that it also, I'm saying this as a Black woman. I mean, we still quote The Color Purple. We quote it. So I think that there's much more. It transcends race, the messages. It's about not only empowerment, about female empowerment. It's about community and resilience and the triumphant spirit. So I think there's more, not just for Black audiences, but for all audiences. And Scott, what do you think? What else does this movie provide as a producer?
Well, I had the good privilege and grace to have a meeting with Alice Walker about 25 years ago, and I had read the book and was so moved by Celie's story and felt like there were Celies all over my life, and they didn't have to necessarily be Black women. There are a lot of Celies out there, and I went to Berkeley to see her and asked if she would give me permission to adapt her book for the stage, and she said, you seem like a nice guy, but no. And so 6 months later, I asked her if I could bring her to New York and see some shows and talk about how we could evolve the story for a more modern audience. This was 2005. for Broadway, and to look at the relationship between Celie and Shug and start to expand on that, and also to look at the men and look at how the men are portrayed and how we could give more dimension both to Mr. as well as to Harpo, and to show how these three generations of men were different from each other, and particularly give Mr. more of a human side to his life, and show sort of why hurt people, and then to show Harpo as the generation that decides not to be his father and his grandfather. And by the end of that week, she said, all right, I trust you, I'll let you do this. And it was really important to put music into the story, because music has been such a part of Black culture for hundreds of years, literally, going all the way back to the continent. So finding a way to bring authentic music, particularly when you think about the period that this was written or written for, some of the greatest genres of Black music were evolved. So gospel, blues, jazz, so many great, and so then to bring Allie Willis, Brenda Russell, and Stephen Bray to New York. They'd never written a Broadway musical before. I had never produced a Broadway musical before. And we all decided Alice's book is the Bible. We're gonna be true to that book. We're gonna be true to the characters in the story. And when Alice talks about her ancestors, she talks about perseverance, and she talks about forgiveness, and she talks about love, and she talks about Celie and Shug being in love, and all of those things. So it felt like we could evolve that, and we did that on Broadway, but Broadway is $150 a ticket, and I felt this needed to be seen by the world, and cinema is the greatest medium to do that, and so here we are.
Here we are, yes. You brought up a great point in the music, and you guys have the right man on the job in Kris Bowers.
Yes, we do.
Kris and I have a little history. We did a movie called Green Book together. So the man knows his music. Kris, I have to tell you, and I raise your hand if you felt this as well. The music was so beautifully, the score was so beautifully complimentary of the musical elements, the songs. I never felt like I was watching a musical. You know, it felt like it was an extension of, I mean, it's crazy, you know, because you guys all sing, but it never felt like.
It was Blitz's intention.
It was, so please talk to us about how you were able to give us all of those sounds, the blues, the jazz, the gospel, and make it feel so effortless. Did you choose different, instruments to convey? Talk to us about what your method was.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest parts of it is that Blitz brought me on way earlier than I'm usually brought on to any film. I came onto this project 6 months before shooting started, and being involved that early, I was with the other music producers working on the songs, and I did some of the arrangements for the songs, but primarily my focus, and Blitz and I talked about this, was trying to figure out how the score would be that glue. And he wanted me to be involved in every single conversation about the songs, even if it was a song I wasn't going to be working on, so that I would understand their intention when it came to reimagining these songs, what the references were. So by the time I started writing some of the themes for the score, I knew these melodies, forward and backward, and I had an intimate relationship with these songs. And so the first themes that I was writing were tangentially related to the song, whether it was the shape of one of Celie's songs inspired the shape of the melody for her theme, or the jazz instrumentation that came in when Shug came into town became the jazz instrumentation for her part of the score. And the other thing that was really amazing with Blitz is that when I finally started writing to picture, we would watch a reel. Even if I only wrote a 1 minute cue in a 15-minute reel, we'd watch the whole 15 minutes every time. Even if I made one small revision, we'd watch the 15 minutes the entire way through. And a lot of that was so that we could really live with it and sit with it and realize, oh, you know what, this actually should be in a different key, or this actually is coming out of this song, so it needs to start a little bit earlier, or it needs to come a little bit longer so that it goes into this song. So being able to sit with a mock-up version of the score for months allowed us to reiterate and reiterate, so that by the time we actually scored it, we really felt confident with what we had.
Right? Am I crazy? It didn't feel like I was watching a musical. It felt very intentionally beautiful. I thought that was very interesting. Wow. Now it all makes sense.
Too, also because Marcus Gartley says this too, that it's because the characters sing when there's nothing else to do but sing. Where it is, you have said all you had to say, and the music just comes straight up out of your soul. And it is absolutely the most clarifying thing you can do in that moment. And so it isn't just singing for singing's sake, or
Right.
like a lot of musicals, there's just a song put in there and you're irritated.
That's so funny. That's exactly, I thought, am I crazy? But it doesn't feel, it feels very organic. And
Because at no point in this song, this musical, did you all say, why are they singing again?
No.
Right? And how many times have we gone to musicals and you're like, oh, good. Here comes another song.
Well, it does hurt that these powerful women up here, can we just give it up here? These powerful women up here. Like, you are all beautiful diamonds, beautiful. I'm gonna start with Taraji. We go way back. We go way back. There is something beautiful. These types of movies, they don't come often in a career. And I had the experience, and when I say these types of movies that are centered around women and our relationships, and so it's magical. It's magical watching that on the screen, and the symmetry, all of that, all of those circumstances behind the scenes bleed into those performances. So we know that you guys loved working together because all of you know, you cannot manufacture chemistry, you cannot manufacture talent. If you don't have chemistry, it's not there. If you don't have talent, it ain't there either. So you guys have talent and you have chemistry. Taraji, Shug, Avery, all these characters mean so much to us, millions of people. Shug Avery has captured our hearts and our imagination for decades. What was it about her that drew you to her, and why did you think she resonates then and now?
Good question. I think she resonates because she's the change maker. She comes in and she gives these women a way out. She had an imagination, and I think it's really clever that Blitz decided to give Celie an imagination, because Shug had to have an imagination to imagine herself off of the plantation, to make something of herself in a time when people, this is the first generation of free slaves. So the fact that she had the strength to leave, the imagination, be bold enough to step outside of her comfort zone, because who knows where you go? You know what I mean? Could you imagine back then? Where do you go? I want to be a star. Really?
There were no models.
And so, I mean.
Because Shug was the Beyonce of her day.
Exactly.
So
Right.
you could just move on to Memphis.
Exactly. With nothing. Left her kids behind and everything.
And I love the anticipation. Shug's coming to town.
Yeah.
I love all of that. And so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I cut you
No,
off.
I was just gonna say, when you're a little girl and you dream about being glamorous, like I'm a klutz in real life. I got so many cuts and bruises from knocking and bumping up against things, and I could lose myself in Shug, because that's the woman we all want to be, right? when we go home and we put on our, I don't have any lingerie, but I sleep with a holy t-shirt. But you know, it was as a little girl, when you put on your mom's clothes and you feel like a lady and a woman, I could lose myself in her femininity and her sensuality, and that's what I did. Like, because I'm telling you, I look at it, I'm like, how did you do your hand like that? It was just like the way I touched things, and I was like, I did that? So I really just gave myself to show, because you know, as actors, it's really spiritual what we do. We're allowing these energies from these other characters to use our body as a vessel to tell the story. So it can be overwhelming, but I learned early on how to turn the switch on and off. So
beautiful. Because this is also we've never seen you like this, belting out songs. I mean, it was like, wow, this is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
I thought that boy.
I think these kids, hey, who turned my mic off? You know, y'all think these kids are saying some raunchy stuff. Do you ever listen to what the women were talking about back then? I literally made me blush. Bessie Smith, Ida Cox, yeah. Wild about that thing. Do you think Shug was talking about pushing an actual button?
I want to know, I've seen it so many times, but first of all, we made that swamp. We created that swamp.
What?
There was no swamp there, and we made that swamp. And of course, made the boats and lit the water and did it on the night when the moon was full and all that. And every time they start to snapping the fingers and you throw your head up and that headdress. I want to know what you were thinking in the preparation of landing in the juke joint on that boat.
I felt like the biggest superstar. Like, cause it was the setup. And what I could see on the barge was all the extras running up down the plank, because you know Shug is coming to town. So it really set it up for me. I was like, I gotta put on a show for these people. Even though I know we're all acting and they're gonna get paid to cheer me on, but when you're in the moment, the adrenaline hits,
Right.
and it really feels like a real performance. And it's like in those wee hours of the night, you have to keep the energy up on the set, or the scene will suffer. You know, so you have to learn how to hold back, reserve your energy. Go sit down when you need to ice your knees, because I had to ice my knees a lot in between takes. And I didn't know Oprah counted how many times I climbed up on that table. It was 88 times.
88 times.
Wow.
So you just see the finished product. You don't see us at 5 a.m. in the morning with my knees all iced and trying to keep the morale up on the set. But I really have to say the dancers. The team.
Beloved characters. Fantasia, I've been a fan for a long time. I've been a fan of that voice, honey. I'm doing me. I've been a fan. What I knew is about you, what I know about you is that, I told you this outside, when you sing, you give us your whole, full soul. Just it is you just bare your soul, and I saw that in your acting performance. I wasn't ready for that. You also have you're playing Miss Celie. Miss Celie also means so much to millions of fans, legions of fans. You put your own spin on her, and you grew, and I want to know, because you had the opportunity to play her in the revival. You had a lot of time to get to know Miss Celie. How did she change from the stage to film?
Good question. Am I on? Okay, I'm on. Hey, y'all. I'm the new girl on the block. I spent time with Celie on Broadway. And I thought Scott was crazy even then asking me to play her because I've never done not a lot of acting. You give me a microphone to sing, we can go there. But acting, I'm like, you haven't seen me do any acting, so why are you asking me to do this? But I always say he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Spending time with her on Broadway was tough because I didn't know how to come out of character. No one taught me how to let her stay at the theater. So I went to sleep, Celie, woke up, Celie. And it was like me carrying my cross and hers. Because at the time, I think I was 22, 23, I was very young. And I did not have the team of people that I have around me now. So my life was rocky, and now here I am carrying Celie's. And that was hard. And so when I walked away, I remember saying in interviews, everybody was saying how blessed they were from seeing me on stage, and I was saying, yeah, well, I'm glad you've seen it because you won't see it again. Not because it wasn't a good, show. It just was a lot taxing on me. So when Scott called me again to play Celie, I'm thinking,
What you gonna do?
Scott Sanders. I'm picking up, I'm like, hey, Scott. He's chit-chatting, and then he's like, look, I need you to be my Celie. And I said, Scott, I'm gonna have to call you back. Because all I could remember was the feeling that I had when I played her a while ago. Then Blitz called and said, listen, I want to show you something. He pulls out our computers, he goes on a Zoom, and he shows me that he was giving Celie an imagination. And I said, okay, I'm in. On the Broadway show, you don't get to see how she processes through. Now, unfortunately, in my life, everything about me was plastered, so you got to see everything and but my imagination is what kept me going. I went through a lot of things, but I never stopped because I knew I could imagine myself in better places when I was in bad places. And so I said, I'm all in. Now, it still was tough, taxing. To code switch, to play with Sofia, to play with Shug, to play with Mr. But I got to see so much growth in her because I'm a woman now. So I sat back and I was like, you know what? This woman was brilliant. She was brilliant. She held everybody down. And I was glad that I didn't allow my fear to get in the way. I was a bit scared too because I'm with some heavy hitters. I'm like, you want me to play with Taraji, Danielle Brooks, Coleman Domingo? But being around them, it was the best acting school I could have ever went to. I didn't have much of, Susan Batson, Oprah, thank you, because you brought her into my world. And she's a bad mama jamma, but I still was thinking, I don't really know what I'm doing. Sometimes we would be on set and they would yell, do something, and I'm like, well, which camera? But I believe that I had a lot of outer body experiences with Celie this go round. I did. Sometimes it felt weird. You know how you get on a roller coaster ride and they go up and you drop in your stomach. I had a lot of those moments of like, what's going on? But I totally surrendered myself to her, and I allowed her to be my therapist at the time.
What? Okay. It was so beautiful. You saw that growth. You saw that. You saw the evolution of Celie, and you did it so beautifully.
Can I just say it was the subtleties for me, sis?
The nuances.
The nuances,
Yeah.
is the little things that you did with your eyes and that you didn't say that blew me away.
Yeah.
That coming from y'all?
Yeah.
Shoot, I got to call my mama soon. My mom. Woo.
You deserve those flowers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miss Danielle. I saw this movie on Christmas Day, and then I watched it again on Monday night so that everything could be fresh on my mind. I have a question for you guys. raise your hands if you are actively rooting for Sofia and Harpo to get back together. I know. So was I. I didn't think that but I was actively, and I know that that was because of your portrayal of Sofia. I think you probably lived with Sofia the longest out of anybody because you played her for a year on Broadway, and then the rehearsal, the auditioning process was 6 months. I read. And then of course, I was taken by your chemistry with Corey Hawkins, and I decided to do a little deep dive, and I realized you both went to Juilliard. So were you together at Juilliard?
Yeah, we were in the same class at Juilliard, and they only accept 18 a year.
Wow.
So it's,
That's
the
a
chemistry
small
was
world.
real.
Yeah.
And with Chris Bowers, he went to Juilliard as well.
And I went to Juilliard. Tell me you went to Howard. I said Harvard. I'm saying a lot to say that.
He stayed.
Well,
Tennessee State.
I heard a little bit out there when we were coming in that you were there and Kris was there with Corey. But what I want to know from you, because Oprah Winfrey is one of the biggest stars, like just really one of the most influential women in the world. And you heard that story that she told us that, you know, she asked Steven if she could go and sign her little contract for the Oprah Winfrey show. Yeah. And being who she is now, for her to pass the baton to you, to say, you have the license to own Sofia. My first question is, what did you and Corey do to, get together to figure out, how to make those dynamics work? How did y'all work all of that out? And how did you reconcile it within yourself that you are now, when you see it on stage, it's a different beast. You are now putting it out there for the world to see this performance. You did so many things. Like, take us through your process of building Sofia, please.
Thank you. Well, it's been a journey, and I'm going to try to keep it sweet because it's a long one. If you don't know, I'm from a small town in South Carolina, and the first time I got to see a Broadway show, that show at 15 years old happened to be The Color Purple. And so that alone changed my life. Toni Morrison has a quote that she says, "The function of freedom is freeing someone else." And in that moment, I was finding my freedom. Because where I'm from, a small town, and I say this with love and no judgment, everyone is complacent. A lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people are complacent. They're good with doing their 9 to 5, going to church, having their kids, and keeping it pushing. But when I saw that Broadway show, I was like, I got to do that. I found my freedom. Cut to going to Juilliard with Corey. We are out in the trenches trying to figure out this thing, taking countless hours studying the craft and becoming craftsmen. And then I get out and I start the grind of auditioning. I'm out there auditioning off Broadway, and I was getting no after no after no, and didn't understand why. And now I do understand why, because 10 years after seeing that in 2005, I star in it as my first Broadway show in 2015. So
Look what God
has done. So my journey has been orchestrated this entire time. And so when Miss O passed the baton to me, and I've said this before, these are huge, big shoes to fill, right? But she truly did let me be the cobbler of my own shoe. And I started crafting.
it gave me the freedom to start crafting. I get in there and now I'm like, I get to own it. And I get to think about, how does she walk? I'm gonna keep that thing Miss O did. I'm gonna walk with my fist because she's a fighter. What's her voice? She's like a horn. You're gonna know she's coming, right? All my life I've had to fight. She makes herself known, her presence known. And so even like I think about the scene in the jail, and I get to go back to Alice Walker's words and how she talked about, you know, they cracked her ribs and cracked her skull, and how her tongue was as thick and full as Celie's arms. And I can't play that, but I can make it internal. I can internalize that and use that. So it was so much fun to also add the layers of singing and dancing and go through the journey of the joys and the, you know, the lowest of lows. Like as an actor, you only dream of moments like that and times like that. So this has been the joy of my career. This has been the best gift. Because just like those women that I watched, LaShance and Felicia and Elizabeth Withers and Renee Goldsberry, watching them, they changed my life, and now I have an opportunity to do the same for someone else. So when they watch us, they can then find their freedom. So I'm just really grateful for this opportunity.
Blessed to have witnessed such a wonderful, I mean, I'm telling you, I am going to navigate this year with the energy from Celie, Sofia, and Shug. And what I mean by that is I am going to kick the doors open defiantly, like Sofia. I'm going to slink sexily, but with confidence into the room and own it like Miss Shug, Avery, and stand humbly, but knowing my value, like Miss Celie. So I hope all of you take the same energy with you. And please tell everybody that the color purple is now playing. Go see it. I'm gonna ask everybody to remain seated so we can get everybody out and upstairs for the victuals and snacks.
Maria, where are you? Hi, honey.
Ladies, I'll see you guys upstairs. Let's give another round of applause.
Yeah, that's upstairs. We have to wait till they leave though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Miss O, you see her shirt? All my life.
All my life I had to fight.
You missed my helmet.